Goal number 1 of the postseason is behind us. Win a road game, that we did. Now on to our second goal, which is to win 2 in a row. We finished the 2018 campaign at home against the Lions. Next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys has been to the birthplace of Curly Lambeau, and the other guy, well, he has too. And now it's time to go, Pack, go, with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
Thanks for joining us on your Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. Wayne Henderson here with you on this 174th episode, recorded December 26th, 2018.
And I am at Troy Heinritz, super excited that my Christmas present came early this year, seeing the Green Bay Packers of old win one against the Jets on the road. What a fantastic game on Sunday. We're also going to be having a lot more fun as we talk about our highs and lows from that overtime win in New Jersey, not New York. Who's in and out for the playoffs as it stands right now going into Week 17, plus more injury updates as more people land on the IR this week.
Oh, boy. Of course, we're going to wrap up by previewing this Sunday's season finale Lions at Packers game. And as always, Troy's keys to the Packers beating Detroit. We'll have the results from this week's Twitter and Facebook poll asking about the possibility of more Kumaro and your G-Force feedback from 920-3PACK-GO from email and the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community.
Show notes and other articles that we'll have in this episode can be found on our website. That is packersfanpodcast.com/174 for this episode as we celebrate the Kumaro breakout. Yes, a fantastic touchdown for Jake in this game.
So fun to see, and we've been waiting so long because in the preseason, the guy was like magic, and then the injury, and then we waited. But it really paid off, and he was amped up. We were amped up. The crowd was amped up. A lot of Packers fans in New Jersey. Congratulations, Jake, your first touchdown as a Green Bay Packer.
Yeah, and what a nice throw that was, too. I mean, Aaron Rodgers in general during the course of this game looked like the Aaron Rodgers of old. He was sitting there, and I know he made a couple throws that looked a little bit errant, but when it came down to it, he put the team on his back, literally running for 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. I mean, he said, this is a game we are not going to lose come hell or high water, and Aaron delivered once again.
Yeah, he was looking really good, and in fact, he had extra intensity, especially, this is a game that doesn't move us anywhere in the playoffs. Oh, it's so sad. But Aaron Rodgers standing up for that cheap shot against Brian Bulaga, and he goes up and just shoves that offending Jets lineman. I haven't seen a Packers quarterback do that in a decade or so when Brett Favre used to job with people and headbutt them all the time.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to say what this team is doing. They're rallying amongst each other, becoming a cohesive unit finally. The offensive line specifically really looked great in this game. I mean, the running game for Williams looked like it was just explosive out there. I don't know if that was just because our offensive line was so much better or if their defensive line was a little bit lacking. But I remember one play in particular, Aaron Rodgers held the ball for like 7 seconds trying to make something happen. And that's a testament to the offensive line. So I think what we're seeing, because I know Bakhtiari was back in there for a couple since he got a false start on him at one point in the game. And I think what this is showing is that next season is shaping up to be a pretty good start if everybody's healthy and everybody comes back and we plug a few holes. But I'm really excited to see what we can do next year. There's a lot of the young receivers making plays this week.
And Mason Crosby was back to being money.
Yeah, definitely needed his help in order to make this one go to overtime. The defense on the other side, I think this is where we have to take another step back and look at how we match up against these teams that are not necessarily on par with us, but they basically made the Jets look like a Pro Bowl team this week with scoring as many points as they did, 38, especially in that last drive to end up tying the game. I mean, and I don't think that was so much the defense's fault as it was the special teams. I mean, the return for the touchdown, granted Mason was putting in field goals, but he's dropping the kickoffs, at the 20-yard line and the 15-yard line and not getting it into the end zone. And I know that McCarthy always said, make them work for every yard, but I don't know why you're putting it at a point where you just scored the go-ahead touchdown and then you kick the ball to the 25-yard line and let the guy run it back to the 50, that gives them a real easy chip shot to tie the game.
Yeah, just a lot of shenanigans. I was amazed at how many points were scored in this game, and I actually wasn't feeling very down even at the point of the game. I think it was in the third quarter when the Packers were down by 15. I'm like, it looks like we can score when we want to, and, we were just coming out of the halftime funk, and next thing you know, just the heart attack pack carrying that tradition on as we go into another overtime game. Thankfully did not end in a tie this time around, Troy.
Oh, no, I was really super worried because it was like, really another tie? But I think the big thing there was the fact that when you're looking at going on that go-ahead touchdown and you're up, I think that's the difference maker, is that you have the momentum versus you're the one that's kind of scrambled to come back and get the field goal to tie it. This allowed us to have kind of that breather, but then still not being able to close out games like we should. And I think that's the one thing we have to work on next year is closing out games solidly so we don't have to worry about things like overtime and special teams plays and things of that nature. So really something we have to work on next year is just being a definitive 2-score lead going into that fourth quarter.
Yes. Help us all, RELAX, just a little bit more. If we can't do a blowout every game, at least a couple touchdowns ahead would be nice. There were a lot of great things going around. I mean, even Jimmy Graham, 3 receptions for 34 yards. Not too shabby. Would have been nice to have another Graham touchdown, but it's just not working out.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at it from this perspective, Graham and Kendricks combined for 60 yards and 5 catches. So that means the tight end position is actually getting some love finally in the game plan, which is really great. But you had Scandling put up 75 yards. St. Brown put up 94 yards. Devontae Adams only 71 yards with a touchdown, but they had their 100th connection or something, 100th touchdown between Adams and Rodgers. Did I get that stat correct?
There was
the course of the game.
100 of something.
Yeah. And then Jamal Williams, he had a big breakout game, 95 yards and a touchdown, plus 6 receptions for 61 yards. So he was a beast. And then let's not overlook Aaron Rodgers, who was on my non-championship winning team. I had him on a different fantasy team, but Rodgers gave me like 40-some points with his 442 yards and 2 touchdowns passing, plus his 32 yards and 2 touchdowns running. I mean, just a monster game. 55 attempts. His arm has got to be tired.
One more game, Aaron. One more game.
But he definitely looked like the Aaron of old in this game in particular. So hopefully we can just stick it to the Lions next week. Definitely get 2 in a row on the board. That would be a huge testament to the team at this point. And then we move into the offseason shenanigans where I am assuming Zook and a few other special teams related people will be out of jobs.
Something's bound to happen. I mean, the first hammer fell about a month ago with McCarthy, and now the rest of the things are going to fall into place. And like you said, Troy, we did not get out of this game unscathed because Jimmy Graham's knee is a little messed up. He's questionable. Devontae Adams is even questionable for something that's undisclosed. The big pain was the fact that Kenny Clark with his elbow is on injured reserve. Kenny, no.
Yeah, and I know that it seems weird. Like, why would you put a guy on injured reserve with only 1 game left to go? And it's because obviously they need space. Yeah, they have to make a roster move in order to make sure they have enough people to suit up. Because on top of that, you also have Fidel Brown who's out with a toe injury and some other things happening there on the defensive side of the ball with Jari Alexander. I have a little bit of a groin problem. So, I mean, you're looking at it here. You got Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, and Equiminius St. Brown with a head injury. I mean, all of those are decimating the receiving core as well. And then you top that off with Lane Taylor and Jason Spriggs being out. I mean, it's not going to be an easy game. So we'll hopefully keep an eye on these guys through the course of the holiday week and be able to see if they're ready to go on Sunday for the Lions.
Yeah, because if anybody says that people are just mailing it in, it's definitely not the Packers way. And in fact, I don't think there's more than even 1 or 2 teams in the entire NFL that mail anything in at any time. The Lions are going to be coming hard. They want to make sure they get a victory, even at Lambeau Field. But I just have a feeling that when the Packers roll into Lambeau, knowing that nothing's really on the line, they're just going to open it up and have a party to close out the year. The Lions have a few injuries as well. Everybody's kind of listed as questionable, but I think that's just, wait and see kind of stuff. But Let's dig in with the listener feedback. We've got the Packers Fan Podcast G-Force giving us a call at 920-3-PACK-GO from Charlotte.
Sir Wayne, Sir Troy, what a wonderful Christmas present the Packers gave to us yesterday. This is Matt in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I just wanted to say that it was great to see almost the whole team of starters playing yesterday, other than the guys who are injured, of course. And it looks like Williams is going to be a very promising back for us, as will be MVS and St. Brown at receiver. Wanted to ask you guys, if we do cut Jimmy Graham, who do you think the Packers should pick up at tight end next year? And I also wanted to say it was very exciting to see Rodgers back to his healthy self, making a lot of great decisive moves on his legs, getting us those 2 rushing touchdowns and the 2-point conversion, as well as making some amazing throws that only he can make. It was awesome to see a game where he went over 400 yards and we still pulled out the victory. It was nice to see that, and it can all keep us Packer fans in good spirits over the holidays. So once again, happy holidays to you and your families. Go Pack Go, green and gold till I'm dead and cold. I love you guys. Great podcast. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's indeed. Great times all around, especially at the holiday season. It's always awesome to figure out what is happening with the Green Bay Packers when they can win on the road. And man, this was another great, what do you want to call it, home game for the Packers. There was a lot of Packers faithful out there in the Meadowlands, and they were just cheering as loudly as possible on TV. I thought that was super fun hearing the Go Pack Goes again on TV. Now, when it comes to the tight end position, however, I say go back and get Jared Cook. We were doing some looking after I did win my fantasy championship game over on ESPN. That's right, 4 seed coming into playoffs and took out the top 2 scorers. I was pretty impressed with my managerial skills this year. But yeah, with that win, they did an ESPN did an article about comparing the tight ends, who are the best tight ends in fantasy this year, and you would never guess who was number 2.
Would it be Jared Cook?
It would be Jared Cook.
No.
So if Jared Cook wants to come back to the Packers, I would be totally happy to have him. I think he was doing great stuff for us when he was here, and then move him along. I definitely do not think we'd take the option on Jimmy Graham. That's an expensive option. We already have expensive situation with Randall Cobb and Clay Matthews that we have to deal with. And then you obviously, whatever the first-round draft picks look like, having 2 first-round picks that are pretty high up on the scale. So with all of that said, I think we have to really take a look and figure out what is going to happen with the draft situation to see who we can get in free agency. And so with that, I think either you keep Kendricks, because Kendricks looks like he's breaking out a little bit. Tanyan's been doing some pretty good stuff. And maybe you draft a tight end for an up-and-coming starter, because then you have what's already happening with the wide receiving core. Tight end hasn't really been one of the key factors in our offensive scheme, and it's really all going to depend on whatever the new head coach wants. And Philbin sticks around and is the offensive coordinator. So there's a lot to dissect around that tight end position to decide what you want to do. But I definitely do not think you pick up the option on Graham for next year.
Yeah, it's just another one of those experiments that just didn't work out. It looked great on paper, as did the one last year. But yeah, I like your idea. Jared Cook, I'm sure the Raiders have gotten rid of everybody else. They might even send Jared Cook, Jordy Nelson, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But Matt,
Wouldn't it be funny if they came back as a package deal?
Yeah. A Go package deal. But Matt, thank you yet again for giving us a call. We also had this week's Monday Twitter poll, and thank you, Troy, for coming up with a good idea, because I was drawing a blank. We also had it in our Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group. Packers fans, what do you think? Jake Kumaro, starter or sub? And since you came up with the idea, Troy, which way do you lean?
Both.
Oh.
He starts and he subs. Because in order to be a starter, you only have to play the first snap. But yeah, no, he should definitely be.
Details.
I think he's the new Jordy. I think he should be out there as number 3 receiver on the field, for sure.
And 77% of the voters on Facebook and Twitter agreed. Start Kumaro. 23% said keep him as a sub. And Dan Barnes commented, I would definitely start Kumaro next week. As for the season, next season, it really depends on what happens with number 18 and any other off-season acquisitions.
Very nice. Very nice.
And we got an email from Steven, a pleasantly shocked Steven, checking in from Palace Park, but wondering where the Packers' desire to win on the road has been all season. Wayne and Troy, please give the Packers their final grade for the 100th season, which is hard to do because we still have to smack the Lions around this week. Right, Troy?
Oh, absolutely.
But
put those kitties back in their place.
Then we can have a final grade. Will the Packers actually win 2 games in a row? Heck yeah.
I think so. I think it's safe to say at home. Oh, wait, we lost the Arizona Cardinals at home. I think it's safe to say we're going to win this one.
There you go. Stephen continues, I wish everyone a happy and safe New Year's and New Year's Eve. And if you go out and drink alcohol, don't drive. And Stephen also shares some other great thoughts and posts in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group. So thank you. And thanks for the reminder to everybody to be safe. Don't drink and drive.
Absolutely. Especially if you're going to the game on Sunday, because that's my birthday. And I wouldn't want people, getting hurt and stuff on my birthday.
No.
I did look into having a birthday party at Lambeau Field, but remember, it was like $20,000 for the suite. So got to give some money on Patreon if you guys want us to have a birthday party in the suite next year.
I'm all for it. 2 thumbs up from this guy.
All right, we had an email from Caleb, obviously up there in Titletown, USA. Caleb Fisher, Roy Fisher, Mary Herkmans, and Diane Owens checking in because they were excited for a great win from our Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers having 3 touchdowns in this game was awesome. That was one great birthday present he had this year. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Go Pack Go from Caleb Fisher and company up there in Titletown, USA.
And in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group, Lofia commented, Aaron Rodgers played his heart out today. And defense and special teams have a lot of holes to fix. And you kind of went over those.
Special teams especially. I mean, there were holes all over the place. You saw the guy run through them on numerous occasions and all the way to the end zone even.
Not good at all. So changes will be made. Check out even more conversations happening in our Facebook community group at packerscommunity.com. There's a post about NFL's flex rules and a few Week 17 kickoff times that have been changed, interim head coach Joe Philbin's press conference videos, and more great stuff, all at packerscommunity.com.
Well, Willie Wood wore number 24, and number 24 is Christmas Eve. That's right. It's the day between a great Packers victory and getting ready for the Lions game this week. Willie Wood was always ready to play for the green and gold, and Bryant is always willing and ready to go to support the Green Bay Packers Fan Podcast. At his $24 monthly support level, you can definitely help and join Bryant by making this podcast even better. If you go to packersfanpodcast.com/support and donate at the $24 monthly support level, you get a cool t-shirt and you get to say Go Pack Go at the end of the episode. So just want to say thanks to Bryant for making our holidays bright.
And even though the Green Bay Packers are not in the playoffs this year, the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics Facebook group are still playing hard, supporting the show at the $12 a month Aaron Rodgers support level. Thank you so much for that. And as always, we have their Go Pack Go at the end of this episode.
Supporting at the $4 Brett Favre monthly level, maybe former or soon-to-be coach, who knows? But the $4 monthly level goes out to MVP Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider podcast, as well as Andre in L.A., and our dedication to lifelong Packer backer Randy Westgame of Wausau and good old Jeff Summerfield out there, all pitching in $4 to say thank you to us for putting on the show, and thank you for supporting us in doing so.
And Go Pack Go to the Curdy Lambeau $1 a month monthly supporters. We thank you so very much. Velvet Eau Claire, Aaron Peterson from the Hollywood Outsider, and Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts. Y'all rock.
You do so rock, and you will rock all the way into the new year. If you're sitting in a seat next to me, if you donate at the Reggie White $92 level for 6 months, that's right, that could be your seat to a game next year if you contribute right now. So head on over to packersfanpodcast.com/support. If $92 is too rich for your blood, there's levels all the way through the numbers on the field. There's a $1, a $4, $12, $24. You name it, there's a number out there. So definitely check out all of the cool levels and all the cool rewards. Plus, what we can do with the podcast if you help us get to our goals as well. So big thanks to Aaron, Hank, the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics, Andre, Scotty, Bryant, Randy, Jeff, and Velvet for their awesome support of their and your Packers Fan Podcast.
And rumor has it, Troy, that winter is coming.
Winter's been coming for like 10 years. But it's finally here, the final season of Game of Thrones on HBO, and it's being ushered in by one other than the only Aaron Rodgers, commercial man extraordinaire. He is sitting upon the Iron Throne in a great new Game of Thrones promo. We'll have a link for that up in the show notes, PackersFanPodcast.com/174. Really, really fun to see him sitting on the Iron Throne because he is the king in the North.
And he
even
knows.
Even if we're not in the playoffs.
And he does know that winter's coming. And at this rate, I would not be surprised that by next season, every single TV break of every single game, every commercial will feature Aaron Rodgers.
There should be at least one break where it's just Aaron commercials all in a row.
Back.
That would be funny.
A triple play from Aaron Rodgers.
Well, it is Week 17. Not much to talk about in Packer Nation other than the upcoming game against the Lions. So we thought instead of the NFC North Roundup, we would just go down the hits and misses for what will happen to those that are going to go to the big dance potentially and those that will be going home for an early time off in January. So here are your clinching scenarios for Week 17 of the NFC as a whole. LA Rams will be able to clinch a first-round bye with a win or a tie. We don't like ties, but a win or a tie will do it. Or if Chicago loses, or Chicago actually, if you can believe it, Chicago could get a first-round bye if they win and the Rams lose.
We cannot let that happen.
No. Definitely not. They're playing Minnesota. Now, Minnesota is playing Chicago Sunday, 3:25 game on Fox. Or 4:25 Eastern, or whatever's that, 1:25 Pacific. It was weird this past Sunday. I got to watch Packers at 10 a.m. in the morning since I was in California.
It's a wacky world out here, let me tell you.
And I had an awesome breakfast while I did so. They just didn't have the game on because it wasn't being televised. Had to listen to Wayne and Larry in my ears. But Minnesota will clinch a playoff berth, and we'll have two from the Norris division if Minnesota wins against the Bears. Or if they don't, then Philadelphia has the door open for them. So Minnesota can get in with a win or a Philadelphia loss. But if Philadelphia wins and Minnesota loses, the Eagles are back.
Wow.
They're going for a repeat, if you can believe it, with the season they've been having, the up and downs,
Nick
quarterbacks
Foles.
up and downs.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. So I'm kind of hoping for that scenario to play out because I'd love to see the Eagles kind of run the table and put the Saints in their place and the Rams in their place and the Bears in their place and go back to the Super Bowl again just to be like, look, we can repeat this sucker.
That would be an amazing storyline. It sounds like that last game between the Vikes and Bears is in some ways a lose-lose as far as Packers fans go. I don't want to see the Vikings in the playoffs, but I don't want the Bears to get a first-round bye. Wow. What to do? I guess just have them both kind of play wild card weekend and let the Rams get the they can't be the number one. They'll be the number 2 team with a 1 week bye if they win. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and if you're like, hey, Troy, where's the Seahawks and the Saints? Well, nothing that happens this week is going to make a difference. So in this case, the New Orleans Saints do have home field advantage all locked up. So good for Drew Brees. I mean,
unbelievable.
And Taysom Hill for that matter. So they're having a great season down there in New Orleans. Hopefully things are going to keep going because every time they've been this close before, it hasn't paid out, I think, except for once in recent memory. So good luck for that group down there in New Orleans. And then the Seahawks have a playoff berth no matter what happens. So whether they're 5 or 6, they're going to play on the road for their first game. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And if the Seahawks can play spoiler as well, because they've been playing some pretty good ball. Let me tell you, Carson Davis ran him all the way to a fantasy victory this week. So good stuff.
As far as the Saints go, I'm not a big fan. They're not real exciting to me other than Taysom Hill. So I will be watching them because I've seen that guy play almost every single position on the field at one point this year. Taysom Hill, man, he makes the Saints interesting for once.
Absolutely. So Saints and Eagles is where I'm putting my money on for the NFC.
Whoa.
That'd be a great championship game right there. On the AFC side, this is where it gets really interesting because I never realized that this was all this close. There were some real knuckle biters that really messed things up over the course of the weekend. I know the Patriots were super happy for the Eagle victory. So the Patriots have now clinched the AFC East division title once again. But the Chiefs, the Chargers, yes, the Los Angeles Chargers are both in the playoffs, and they are battling, obviously, for the division title there in the West. The Houston Texans have a playoff berth, but the only division that is locked up right now is the AFC East. So lots can happen on Week 17, so lots of good football to watch on Saturday and on Sunday. Now, Kansas City will clinch the AFC West division title and home field advantage throughout the playoffs with a Kansas City win, a Kansas City tie, and a Los Angeles Chargers loss, or a Los Angeles Chargers loss, New England loss, Houston loss, or a Chargers loss, New England loss, KC clinches at the tie of strength of schedule victory over Houston. So basically, KC wins, and they're in. That's all you need to know. Kansas City will clinch the AFC West division title and a first-round bye with a Los Angeles Chargers loss and a New England loss, or a Los Angeles Chargers loss and a Houston loss. So the New England Patriots then can clinch home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs with a win.
No.
Yes, they have to win. Kansas City has to lose, and the Chargers have to lose. So a little bit harder for New England to make that happen, but they will clinch a first-round bye just by winning their game in particular.
Wow, we can't have that happening.
So best case scenario, KC wins, they have home field advantage. New England wins, they have home field. They have a first round bye, so they'll have a home game for that second round. And then you have all the other possible scenarios in the AFC East. But the Houston Texans will clinch the AFC South division title and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. That's right. Houston could be home field advantage. Can you believe that? If they win, New England loses, Kansas City loses, the Chargers lose, and Houston clinches a tie in a strength of victory tiebreaker. That is a lot that has to happen.
I am going to be glued to the tube because of all the uncertainty. And, I mean, can you imagine if, the Chargers still have a chance at being the number one seed, right?
No. Yeah, they do. They do. Oh, yes, they do. Actually, they probably have a little bit better chance than Houston does. Now, Houston, more than likely what will happen for them is that they will clinch the AFC South with their win and a New England loss, or their win and a KC loss and a Los Angeles Chargers loss. I have no idea how the KC loss and Chargers loss affect the AFC South, but math is math, right? And then the Houston can clinch the AFC South division title with just a Houston win. So Houston wins and they're in. Kansas City wins, they're in. New England wins, they're in. Then there's the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens.
Forgot about them.
Can clinch the North and a first round bye. If they win, New England loses, Houston loses, and Indiana and Tennessee does not end in a tie. So Baltimore is still in the mix. They can clinch the AFC North division with a Baltimore win. So basically for them, so at this point it's Baltimore wins, Houston wins, KC wins, New England wins, and things are in good shape for all of those teams. Now the Chargers, they can clinch the AFC West and home field advantage throughout the entire AFC playoffs with a Chargers win and a Kansas City loss. So that is the big one to watch. So if the Chargers win and KC loses, Chargers become the first seed in the playoffs ahead of the Patriots, the Chargers.
Can you imagine the AFC Championship game at that small stadium in Carson?
Oh my gosh, the StubHub Center, right?
Yeah. It would be bonkers.
Can you imagine the Chargers playing the Texans or the Chargers playing the other team that's in it? There are two teams that are in it. The Colts. The Colts could get a playoff berth if they just win. And we have Indianapolis in the conversation, right? And then we have the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans clinch a playoff berth with a win. The Steelers can only get in if Pittsburgh wins and Indianapolis and Tennessee end in a tie.
How about my Browns? Are they still have a shot?
The Browns, unfortunately, did not quite sneak it in this year.
Same as the Packers. Maybe next year, Browns-Packers.
Close. They were close. Really close. But not this year. So more than likely, we're going to see, obviously, Kansas City, New England, Houston, and the Chargers are maybe the top 4. And then the rest of it's just going to be fun to just watch to see who gets in. But yeah, it's crazy how much the AFC is still up for grabs in Week 17. And I think this is the great thing about NFL football. When you think about any given Sunday, there's still a lot to play for all the way through the last game of the season.
And so many teams can play just for the passion of being spoilers, and the storylines. Say it becomes a Chargers-Saints Super Bowl. Drew Brees against the team that cut him, a million years ago. Phillip Rivers has done pretty well in that spot. That would just be wild.
And remember, the Indianapolis, Tennessee, that's a game against each other. So the winner of that game is in.
Ooh. So they're not going to play for a tie, that's for sure.
No, and if Indy ties and Baltimore loses, Indy ties and Pittsburgh loses, or Indy wins. So if Indy loses, they're out. If Tennessee loses, they're out. So that's already a playoff game in Week 17 right there. Winner in, loser go home.
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday. Watch those games.
It's insane. Insane. So lots of fun as we go into the new year. And new year we shall, because it's a whole new year in Packers country, because once we were eliminated for the playoffs, our postseason started. And our postseason says, hey, let's just try to accomplish 2 basic goals, right? Win 1 on the road and win 2 on the road. So in order to win 2 back-to-back, we now have to face the Lions. And we've played the Lions and technically should have beat them the first time around, but we had some kicking challenges. The good thing is that we're playing at home this time, so we'll have home weather, home crowd, last game of the season. Everybody's going to be pumped. Yeah, grass is a big thing. Oh, my gosh. Watching that Seattle game on, Saturday night against the Chiefs. Just the AstroTurf, like people's legs are twisting all kinds of ways I don't want to even think about.
Yeah.
Ugh. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what all goes down in the Detroit Lions game this week. But I think the big things apply here, of course. You contain the Lions running game. We put a little pressure on Matthew Stafford, and we'll have no problem making sure we can maybe get a pick 6 or 2 in this contest. I think whatever we did last week with the offense, we just kind of keep doing the same thing. It's a porous defense on the running side of the ball, so if our offensive line plays as well as they did this week, we should be able to let Williams just run all over the Lions, and we'll go away at least finishing in 3rd place. It won't be a quote-unquote winning record because we'll be 7-8-1, but it'll be at least good enough on the year to know that there's probably 4 games that we could have won. So flip the script, and then all of a sudden it becomes a do the math in my head, 11-5 season instead. Is about where, and I said 12-4. So I think the team is better than it was this year. We just couldn't finish the games and had some fundamental and penalty problems and injury problems, and solve a lot of the 2 or 3 of those things, and the team's right in there. So I'm expecting big things in 2019.
Coming soon, Troy. Coming soon. Now, even the official Green Bay Packers organization took off for Christmas. The dope sheet for this game against the Lions is not out yet, but it'll be out very soon, and we'll link to it in the show notes at PackersFanPodcast.com/174 when it does come out. But the basic headline is the 6-8-1 Green Bay Packers are back home one more time with feeling, hosting the 5-10 Detroit Lions. And shall we dig into our predictions for this game? Because I don't think we could have predicted how last weekend's game went.
Oh gosh, no. I mean, you were at least more optimistic with the 31-28 pick there from a point total scoring. So I'll let you take a stab at this one first, since you were so close last week.
Close enough. Okay, let's go ahead and do it, and we will be nowhere near overtime this week. The Packers win comfortably 35-20.
I'm right there with you. I say Packers 37, Lions 24.
I like it. Yeah, because it looks like game time weather in Titletown, USA is going to be sunny and clear, some slight winds, and a high around freezing and going down from there.
Yeah, it'll definitely drop as it goes into the afternoon hours and the sun goes away. But always a good time up there in Green Bay. Make sure you bundle up. Make sure you have some food. Make sure you tailgate. It's the last one for 2018, so have some fun up there in Titletown, USA. It's going to be a great game against the Detroit Lions. And with that, this holiday edition of your Packers Fan Podcast has come to a close. We are not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. However, next season we'd sure love to be, so if you can get us in touch with the front office, just tell them to email us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com.
And whether the season is on or off, follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Wayne Henderson. And after the Packers game, there is a special only episode of Doctor Who for the entire year of 2019 will be New Year's Day. So watch that Doctor Who episode. It's going to be fantastic. And then I'll be talking about it on my Don't Blink podcast with Jada Wilkerson at don'tblinkpodcast.com.
And me, I'm at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. You can follow that in the offseason. Plus, follow me at The Blacklist GSM. That's theblacklistexposed.com. If you're a fan of James Spader, Megan Boone, and The Blacklist, it returns January 3rd and 4th on NBC here in the States. And we already have a great interview posted with the series creator. Yes, John Bokenkamp is out to give us all the details on the upcoming season 6. So be sure to check that out, theblacklistexposed.com. Then be sure, when you're done listening to both the Don't Blink podcast and the Blacklist podcast, to come back on over and talk about the offseason in our Packers Fan Podcast community by visiting PackersCommunity.com. Join in on the conversation. It's going to be fun kind of to think about what Goody's going to do with all those draft picks next year and what free agents are we going to get. It's all going to start up in January. Like, conversations are going right out of the gate, so make sure you're there, PackersCommunity.com.
And let your voice be heard. Be part of next week's episode by going to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback for the ways to get your feedback into the show. Keep those conversations going online, offline, and on the phone line. But until the next episode of the show, just want to thank you for listening to this episode of your Packers Fan Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and download our apps for one final time over at Google Play and the App Store on iOS. Make your G-Force voice be heard, just like our good friends from the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics, taking us into Sunday.
This is Dawn down here in Texas, a.k.a. Granny Cheese.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
Hi, I'm Lisa Montgomery, proud mom of number 88, Ty Montgomery, and we want to say,
Go Pack, go!